Well, South Africa's economy was already rather decimated before the COVID-19 pandemic. The national lockdown will no doubt further knock down industry and business. Will jobs be secure? Can we expect retrenchments after the lockdown?
News just in that SABC employees at the corporation just up the road from where I currently sit at Auckland Park's head offices have convened an urgent meeting with management.
I know that she's very clear that there is no need for retrenchment at SABC.
We have removed all location-based jobs because we don't want to put any of our jobbers or anyone else at risk.
Onto the markets day now. The local market has dipped into the negative today as some banks shed some of their gains from earlier in the week.
Fellow South Africans, this evening I stand before you to ask you to endure even longer.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning into Once Again After Dark with myself, Kayise. Now this week we're talking job losses and how to become more employable, especially during this time of COVID-19. People have taken to social media to share their experiences and their frustrations.
Job saves lives! Job saves lives! Job saves lives! Job saves lives!
A million seats in the street is a movement that is being...
We would be speaking to the CEO and founder of Ziyana Business Consulting and Training to help us understand a little bit more about what it takes to become more employable, especially during this time. Nomazibulo, hi. Thank you for joining us.
Good day, everyone, and thank you for inviting me, guys.
What common mistakes do you find that people are making, job seekers are making in their pursuit of finding jobs?
The first and common mistake that job seekers make when looking for opportunities is how to write a winning CV. I find that in my recruitment years, even professionals are finding it difficult to write, winning CVs. And a CV is your first impression with the employer and the recruiter. So it's very important for job seekers to take time and understand their CVs and what they put in their CVs. So some of the common mistakes that they put on their CVs, as an example, or they don't put on their CVs is that they either make their CVs long, and remember, employers don't have time to peruse thousands of CVs, that come in because of an advert that was published. So it's important for job seekers to make sure that their CVs is 2 to 3 pages long. The second mistake is I still find some of the job seekers not being able to put and align the skill set to the position they're applying for. So it's very important that before you apply for a position, you look at the job profile or the job description of that job, and you understand what the employer is looking for, and you also understand the culture of your future employer. So once you understand that, then you customize your CV accordingly. I'm not saying people should misrepresent their CV. That is illegal. But I think it's important that your skills must come out and it must talk to, the position that one is applying for. So the common mistakes as well, grammar is also one of the mistakes that they make, which is it becomes very unprofessional. So it's important that you take time and look through your CV, because that's your first impression. Also, it's important for job seekers to understand, the employer that they're seeking employment in, because when they get into interviews and they get asked a question around, explain to us, why do you want to work for this company? And you find a lot of, potential recruits are struggling with that question, and they can't even express and explain the benefits that they will derive from getting that job. So for me, it tells me that they did not do their homework and they did not study what the company does. So the websites are there available for that, and maybe speaking to people that are already in the employ of that employer, just to understand the culture and how everything works. Yes, so those are very important to note. Yeah.
Would you say that perhaps listing things such as hobbies are common mistakes as well? I know a lot of people like to list hobbies.
There is an opportunity for you to explain, elaborate on your hobbies, but your CV must be, precise and speaking to the skills, the experience, and a bit of your personal details, so that we can get hold of you. And please, one common mistake that recruits make a lot is putting outdated contact details, and then you'd find that the person has put outdated contact details, and then when the recruiter and the employer is trying to get hold of them, they can't find them, and then we have to sort of Google them and try to search on LinkedIn and social media just to get hold of the person. So it's important that you update your CV frequently.
Okay. What would you say are the most efficient ways to find jobs?
The most efficient ways to find jobs is obviously career portals are important. I know there's a common one. I'm not promoting it, like PNet. There's also Career Junction. There's also Indeed. So those are the common career portals. Careers 24 as well. But I think people need to familiarize themselves with recruiters in the industry, recruiters in the areas and in the professions, so that they can get in contact with the recruiters, because normally recruiters do put in adverts and positions that are available in vacancies on their website. So those are the ones that are common. LinkedIn is also common. So LinkedIn, you can't be a professional in looking for opportunities, but you don't have a LinkedIn account. So I think that's also very important. Yeah.
Okay. How can we become more attractive to employers?
How one can become more attractive to employers: don't block opportunities, be open-minded, multi-skill yourself, upskill yourself. If you 20 years ago you had a national diploma or you've got a bachelor's degree, make sure that you frequently follow the trends and understand by going, furthering your studies and probably going, doing your honors or doing your postgraduates, so that you are marketable and you are multi-skilled and you've upskilled yourself. Yeah.
What would you say are the jobs that are becoming obsolete, and what is the future world of work?
The jobs that are definitely going to be obsolete are your administrative roles. Your administrative roles, having a PA, having a administrator in the office, that's definitely a thing of the past. I think now with the technology and the artificial intelligence, where we can automate machines to do the jobs of administrators, PAs, that's where the world is moving to, as well as jobs that require people to be in the office most of the time will also be obsolete. We're looking at more customer interface positions that are likely to flourish in the future, and we're looking at more of information technology, coding, digital opportunities. Definitely, that's where the world is moving to. But I think I often say it's important that it doesn't matter what position you occupy, but you must make the best out of the position and try to look where the future is going to, and sort of find a way to make your job more digital. Find a way to make your job more efficient. Find ways, and yes, fourth industrial revolution. And I mean, find ways to make your job seamless. So those are really important. Be creative in the space that you occupy. That's gonna leverage and give you opportunities and probably align you to where the future world of work is going to.
Certainly. Nomazibulo, just lastly, what would you say makes one, at risk of being retrenched during this time? How does one become, or rather ensure that they become, retainable during this time? What advice could you share with regards to that?
So the people that are at risk of being retrenched, probably the people that have duplication jobs, like jobs that are duplicating each other in the office space, and people that are not multi-skilled, people that have not upskilled themselves, and people that are not performing. We also consider performance when we're looking at the full, retrenchment process. Even though a performance process is another process that an organization can take, but I mean, we look at the individual holistically, and we look at individuals that are creative. What value do you add into the organization, and what will we remember you for if you leave? What footprints have you leaving in the organization should you not be there? So I think those are the important ones that employers are looking at. So if you are lazy, if you are not creative in your space, if there's no value that we've added in your position, unfortunately, you are on the brink of being retrenched.
It is unfortunate.
It's unfortunate,
It's unfortunate, and there's a lot of healing that needs to happen
Definitely.
as a result of that. But thank you so much
Definitely.
for joining us. Thank you for sharing so much insight. And I think a lot of people are going to find themselves, retaining, or rather acquiring so much knowledge rather from the information you've shared.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, that was Nomazibulo Tshanga, the CEO and founder of Ziyana Business Consulting and Training. When we come back from the break, we're going to be talking to Celia Bolani, the author of We Are the Ones We Need. And she's going to be taking us through her own journey of corporate bullying, harassment, and discrimination within the workplace. We'll see you after this. On the line, I have Celia Bolani, who's a workplace transformation specialist, a strategic brand consultant, author, podcast host of the Workplace Revolution, and public speaker. Hi, Celia.
Hi.
Welcome to After Dark with Kayise. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Celia, we are talking corporate bullying on this episode, and we just felt that as somebody who's carved, quite an enormous voice and career path for herself within the transformation space, we thought it would be just amazing to have a conversation with you regarding that. I think the first question really for me would be, what made you abandon or maybe leave the corporate space as traditionally known and to, carve this career for yourself within the transformation space?
So being in the space that I'm in now was never part of my grand plan for my career. I never even considered it. I have a background in communications, and that's when I was in corporate, that's where, my focus was, being a strategic communications professional. But I, had been in corporate for over 10 years, and, over the years, I'd kind of noticed all of these little microaggressions, we now call them, within the workplace, that specifically impacted on Black professionals. But there wasn't anything that was really overt, that made me kind of stop and really pay attention to what was happening, until I started reporting into my last boss that I had, who was a white woman, and she was horrendous. She was a bully. She, subjected me to very violent language, and essentially she did a whole lot of different things that I detail in my book, that essentially were intended to, ensure that I'm constructively dismissed from the organization.
Yeah.
Fortunately, she didn't have grounds to do that, but I had to go through a grueling period of like a year of being bullied, of being sidelined, of being isolated, of being gaslit in the workplace. And it was that experience that really forced me out of the workplace. I left when I wasn't ready, that is for sure. I left when I had no job lined up. I had no plan B. I literally just walked out because I needed to preserve my sanity and my health, because I'd also been in hospital a few months earlier because of, stress-related health concerns.
Yeah.
So, I'm very unfortunately familiar with the bullying experience within corporate that so many Black professionals go through. So many things within the workplace show us and remind us as Black professionals that we're not welcome, that it's a space that's not for us, that we should be grateful to even be in the space, to even have a job.
Yeah.
And so therefore we must just shut up, keep our heads down, and do as we're told.
How does corporate bullying manifest itself, really?
Firstly, language, getting people to try and pay attention to the language that is used. How is it used? In what context is it used? And who is it usually directed at? Because that's where a large portion of your cues are to understand the nuances of racism and bullying and discrimination within the workplace. Also understanding, who has opportunities more readily available than others. But I think one of the most critical ones, when you listen to things like how they describe a white woman versus a Black woman. If a white woman and a Black woman both do the same thing, a white woman it might be said that she is, she's a go-getter, she's ambitious, she is outspoken. A Black woman woman might be told that she is aggressive, she thinks too highly of herself, she is arrogant, even though the behavior might be exactly the same. And that essentially is used to ensure that you stay in your place, you know. We tend to be policed a hell of a lot more within the workplace. Our responses and reactions are policed. When we raise issues around our racial or race-based experience within the workplace, it's often, oh, you being overly sensitive, oh, you're pulling the race card again. You know, there's all of these various things that exist to ensure that you don't actually speak up and to ensure that you don't get the support that you need to be able to get any kind of form of justice. But also it's in the opportunities for development within the workplace. For so many Black professionals, you come into the workplace and you obviously have these career aspirations, but so many of us get employed and our line managers don't actually invest in our development. There isn't a map for our careers, somebody who's going to work with us and say, okay, so this is where you're starting, this is, you know, where you want to go, this is how we're going to get there. These are the various outcomes that you need to have, these are the milestones, these are the timelines. There isn't that care that is given into the careers and the development of Black professionals in the workplace. And then, of course, there's the issue of Black exceptionalism, where we're made to believe that, you know, only a handful of us are going to be able to reach a certain level within the organization. And so in order for us to get there, we have to be different. We have to separate ourselves from the other Blacks in the workplace. We have to be the different Black. We have to be the Black that they feel comfortable around. We have to speak a certain way. We have to dress a certain way. And all of these things move us further and further away from our Black identity, which is also very aggressive.
So what would you say are the steps that one should take should they find themselves a victim of corporate bullying to get assistance?
I think the first hurdle that employees often face is not having a universal understanding of what the organization defines as bullying. And so, you know, being able to pull on resources that, you know, speak about behavioral standards within organizations is probably the first place to start, where you kind of understand what kind of behaviors can be defined as bullying within the workplace, and then taking your complaint firstly to your line manager, right? So if your line manager is the one that's bullying you, then your complaint would be, I am concerned about this particular issue or this interaction that we had. This is how it made me feel, and I would like for us to address that matter. Always tell people to please ensure that you have everything in writing, because you need to have this trail of evidence to support you, because you never know where your issue is going to go. And then the next step from your line manager is then HR. Being able to lodge a complaint with HR and, you know, share what the experience was. I tried to resolve it with this person, was not successful, and so I need HR intervention. HR then has their own processes that they follow. Sometimes those processes might lead to, for instance, a grievance hearing. And then you would go through that process where you would then say what your complaint is and provide your evidence, and the person would then defend themselves. And then there would be an outcome based on the chair that would say, we find in favor of this person or that person, or whatever the case may be. Should people then still not be happy with the result, there is the external option of going through CCMA to get a resolution. But before you get to CCMA, you have to have completely followed through all of your internal processes. So it's important for people to understand what processes and recourse is available internally, because you have to exhaust those first.
You know, corporate bullying or any type of bullying or victimization does have a direct result on our mental stability, our emotional and physical stability at times. Would you agree?
Absolutely. You know, so often we underestimate the impact that traumas have on us, because we're so used to just gotta keep going.
Yeah.
You gotta stay strong. You gotta keep your head up. Don't let them see you fall. Don't let them see you cry. And that's why, especially as a Black woman, I reject everything that says I must be imbogoto, or anybody that says, you know, I love you because you're so strong. No, don't love me because of my strength, because I'm literally only strong because I have no other choice. it's not because I want to be strong. No, I don't want that, because it becomes so much more harmful for us, because then it makes it okay for people to keep piling on these traumas onto us, to keep subjecting us to all these various kinds of abuses because we're strong. And we can carry so much. And no, we can't. We're human. Yeah. And, when I think about my own experiences, the bullying for me led to, I still struggle with imposter syndrome. I had serious self-doubt about my capabilities. I wondered if what they're saying about me is actually true. I started to distance myself from friends because I couldn't. I was crying all of the time. Connecting with my daughter, my mind is just so clogged up and foggy and stressed, and I'm always anxious, and all of these things are harmful, so it definitely has a major impact on our mental and emotional well-being.
Certainly, Sihle. Do you think it's possible to forgive and probably not forget, but just to forgive and heal from the trauma, of a corporate bullying, situation?
And one particular woman who works in an organization where they actually fully support her mental health journey. She suffers from mental illness. They know that they support her when she's having spikes in her mental illness. They understand that. They give her the space to heal, they give her the space to have time to herself, and they are very encouraging. They don't kind of mistreat her or sideline her or make jokes about did you forget to take your pills today, which happens to so many people in the workplace. And so very, very supportive environments that say, we see you as a person, we value you, and we understand that everybody's journey is different and everybody's experiences in life are different, and so we will support you in whichever ways that you need as an individual. So there definitely are examples like that. There are organizations that value equality and take it as far as having a website where they publish everybody's salaries, and they say the person's name, they say what position they're in and what their salary is, so everybody knows what everybody's earning, who's earning, on what level. So, there's that sense of fairness. And then people feel safe if they go into that environment, because they know that they don't have to worry about being underpaid. They don't have to worry about, being discriminated against because they're a woman or because they're Black or because they're a person who's living with disabilities or whatever the case may be. And so transparency is so important. So if you have an organization that values transparency, that values equality in a meaningful way, an organization that values the mental and emotional and psychological well-being of your employees, then you on your way to having an environment that is fruitful and safe and productive.
Certainly. Sihle, that is it for today's conversation. Thank you so much for joining me here on After Dark. We appreciate all the pearls of wisdom that you've had to share with us, and we hope that through your work and all the the advice you've shared, people can really find ways to deal and heal from corporate bullying. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.